Welcome to the Invention show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and our guest today is Vern Ader. He is the inventor of gravity therapy. Welcome to the show, Vern.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Vern, you are a very, very interesting young man. Why don't you tell us who you are, where you're from to start with, and what you do for a living?
Okay, my name is Vern Ader. I'm 92 years old, and I worked at Midstate Technical College for 39 years as a teacher administrator. I initiated many new programs and won the Governor's Award for Energy Innovation. I live in Menominee, Wisconsin, and I was born and raised on a farm, and so uh, went to Stout, 5 years, got my master's, had 7 years of military service, and inventing many new products over the years.
Very nice. Did you say that you're 92 years old, Vern?
I am, right?
Unbelievable. Congratulations. You've accomplished a lot and you still have so much to go. And it's unbelievable what you're going to be going over with us today. So why don't you tell us what your challenge was? And then let's talk about what you came up with, what the solution was. So tell us what gravity therapy is and really where it stemmed from.
Okay. Well, up in the space program, there's zero gravity. And when the astronauts are up there, every component of their body deteriorates. They lose muscle and bone. And so when they come back to Earth, they have to be rehabilitated. And so Dr. Joan Vernicus was a doctor that was responsible for getting them in good health and then rehabilitate them when they come back to Earth. And she used the centrifuge to give hypergravity, which is multiple of gravity. You can spin, the faster you spin it, the more gravity you produce. And so that's one of the tools she used to rehab them when they come back to Earth.
What got you into thinking about rehab?
Well, I've been an inventor and innovator in my entire life, and I've had some illnesses over the years, but I overcame them all by research. And so that's what got me into health and energy and renewable and rehabilitation. I won't go into all my problems, but I'm fit now. I don't take any drugs. I'm in really good health.
Good stuff. So you came up with this idea from issues that you had going through rehabilitation, and to be able to pick something out like this that included gravity, where did that come from?
Okay. Dr. Joan Vernicus, she was with the space program for over 40 years. Mm-hmm. And when she retired, she wrote 4 books. One book was Sitting Kills, Moving Heals. And I read all her books. And in her book, she talked about we need this centrifuge to take from space to Earth for rehabilitation for people that have the same problems as all those in space. Those, you get zero gravity with lack of movement. And older people or those that don't move in hospital or clinics, they develop the same problems as the astronauts in space. So I called her and asked her why the centrifuge wasn't on Earth. She said because it costs millions of dollars. So I told her I could build her one in my garage in 6 weeks at a low cost. I did this and sent her a video. She flew to Wisconsin and spent 2 days reviewing and writing it. She loved it. And so then we decided we needed to probably take it to market.
Wow. So let's take a look at what exactly we're talking about here. This is really unbelievable what you came up with, Vern. So let's take a look. So tell us what this is.
Okay, that's a picture of the second prototype. I've did a third prototype, but that has a center pivot system, and it's driven with skateboard technology. And I can remote control, wireless control, and I can spin it from 0 up to 50 RPMs. That's 5 Gs. Nobody would want to ride it at 5 Gs because that's where they test pilots to see when they come out of dives how many Gs they can handle. But for rehabilitation, you'd start them off very slow, probably 10 to 15 up to 20 Gs, which is one more our gravity over normal gravity. And so you would start them out slow and then gradually increase the speed over time.
Well, right now we're taking a look at a bed. I guess there's two beds here that are
Right.
connected to each
Two,
other.
can have two different riders, and I can have up to add two more, or you can have one just armed, and it works very well with 1 to 4 arms.
Well, I'm sure the audience is interested to see how this actually works because all we see is two hospital beds kind of put together. So
Right.
let's go to the video. And why don't you explain to us what this is, Vern?
Okay, this is examples from the space program of different centrifuges they use for rehabilitation or testing of pilots. This is my first prototype where I use a counterweight. It was center driven with a gearbox and remote control, and it worked perfectly. Dr. Joan loved it, but I didn't like it. It didn't take the cost. Here I'm taking the cost out of it. I'm driving it with skateboard technology and just a center pivot system. And you have a remote control that adjusts the speed forward and reverse. You can go as regenerative braking. And some people are oriented right or left. So you could test and see which way they like to go best.
Wow.
And it has the 2 arms. Well, this is a part of the skateboard, which I have new prototypes. That was the first one I used. I've simplified it with just one set of wheels that drive on the tangent without any friction.
Now, somebody taking a look at this, Vern, could imagine themselves on it. I don't know if they would think that they would get dizzy more than it helping them. So how do you overcome somebody laying on that, thinking that they're, their experience? What are they going to feel when they're laying down on
Okay,
that?
they do feel a sensation of weightlessness, and I have them close their eyes. Now, very few people get dizzy, but if they do get dizzy, you would just go at a slow RPM, probably up to 5 or 8 RPM, and then build up their speed over time. Here I have my wife, June, getting on it. She'd never been on it before, got on it reluctantly, but I'm giving her a ride on it. And this is one of the first prototypes. I have the footboard now is adjustable for people at different heights, because when you're spinning, your feet go against the footboard there, and you can actually feel the pressure, the centrifugal force putting your body down at the footboard. And I have safety straps, the side arms there, adjustable up and down. And so it's very safe.
So did June have any issues or any kind of rehab? Not to get too personal, but what was her goal of going on here besides testing your machine out for you?
Well, she was testing. And so I've had many people test it. I've had my grandkids get on it. They're in their 20s. I've run them up to 40 RPMs with this, and they just love it, and they have no ill effects. But sometimes you have some people that will have a dizzy sensation from it, just like riding a roller coaster or a merry-go-round or something like that.
Okay.
But she didn't have any ill effects from it. And I got her up and I asked her how she felt, and she said, "Wonderful." So she was happy. But
That's great. That's awesome. So, all right, Vern. So let's kind of go through and talk about what this actually does. So, okay, I have this bed that I'm going to lay on, and you have control. You have the remote control to be able to spin me around, and you have to figure out how much speed you need to actually have me going, depending on my ailments and what my tolerance is for, I guess, being spun around. But
right.
what exactly is happening when you're spinning me around? Tell me what the whole purpose is of this type of experiment.
Okay, when you're doing hypergravity and putting pressure, when you're going around, the blood goes from your head down towards your feet. It makes your heart work faster, and it makes your muscles work. You're getting your lymph system is being activated. But what it does, it activates every cell, 75 trillion cells in your body. And so when you're going around, that stimulates every cell in your body. So it's actually healing every component of your body.
Wow. That is unbelievable, Vern. So the experience that somebody's having is rejuvenating the cells in the body to kind of reactivate them or to replace them.
Well, I don't say it replaces them, but it stimulates them, because what it does when you stimulate the cell, you're bringing oxygen, nutrients to it, and take waste products away, which cleanses the entire body. But it has numerous benefits when you're riding the centrifuge. Besides, uh, the pressure also stimulates your bones to grow, and you need that. That prevents osteoporosis, which is lack of movement, and that's one of the big things that older people have. And the astronauts have the first thing is loss of bone structure and muscle, and so the centrifuge really stimulates those. And so for older people or anybody, it would do the same thing. There's no Anybody can ride it at any age, but it purpose for rehabilitation is for older people that are lack of movement, or those that can't move or walk, or from surgery or whatever reason, age, and it stimulates their entire body. When you're in a hospital, the first thing after surgery, they get you up and want to move, and so this would work perfect for rehab in a hospital or clinic session for
Wow.
rehabbing people. That's probably the main use, but it's good for sports, gyms, uh, actually good for home. Somebody wants it at home because you can operate yourself. You lay on there and you have the control in your hand, and you can stop it and start it, run any speed you want, and it's safe. If you'd actually pass out, you lose grip on the control and it would shut off. But it's intended for a tenant in a kind of a rehabilitation situation. But for sports, it would be great or sports injuries. There's no end to the use.
Let's talk about when you came up with the idea and you connected up with the doctor. What was her name again?
Dr. Joan Vernicus, and she was
Joan.
with the space
Yep.
program for 40 years. And her
Okay.
responsibility was to get John, Glenn, and other astronauts in good condition to go up in space. When they come back, to rehab them. And she's the one that wrote the book, uh, Sitting Kills, Moving Heals.
Wow. So obviously she's the inspiration for this with what you've come up with. But okay, so you read her books, you gave her a ring, you told her that you're going to build this for her,
Right.
or for yourself, and then I know that you have a fully issued patent. But before you got there, as soon as you spoke to the doctor, what did you end up doing? Like, how did you figure out what the next steps need to be able to build this, Vern?
Okay. Well, I've invented many products, and so I've invented, patented, and marketed several products: aluminum can crushers, golf ball retrievers, uh, stability system for when you're rebounding to keep you in alignment, and a jump chair, and many other items. And so I'm innovative, and I simplify things like weeding tools. Everything I build, I simplify. And that's what I did. I simplified this. I took the cost out of it. And that's why it's not on Earth, because it costs millions of dollars. And so when I got rid of the the ones in the space program, they're anchored in concrete, and they're permanent. They're not portable. And so what I've made, this is portable. I can take the whole thing apart in 10 minutes. It makes it easy to ship, assemble. You can move it around where it's located from one place to the other. And that's what's taken all the cost out of it and simplified it. And it's safe and low cost.
Wow.
And so what I went ahead then, like you asked about patenting, then I do my own patent work. And so I went ahead and you do the research on it to see what else is out there. But then I have a patent on it, and I also have the trademark on it.
Gravity therapy.
Right. That's the trademark, right.
So, Vern, you started to put this together in your garage and in your workshop. You probably didn't get it right 100% the first time, but to be able to get the parts and and figure out where things are going and how it's going to work. Tell us about that moment in your mind of, it's one thing to picture it in your mind, but then to actually create it, which is a really interesting part of being an inventor and being innovative. What did you picture in your mind when you saw this, what the next steps were going to be for you?
Okay, when Dr. Jones, she did a centrifuge 17 years ago with another astronaut, and it was complicated and expensive. And so when I told her I'd build one, I knew I could simplify it. And I was going to do a gearbox to the center, and I did the first prototype like that. But it didn't satisfy me. It wasn't right. But then you do improve it. And right from the beginning, I believed that skateboards was a way to do it because they're cheap. You can get a skateboard, drive, battery, control system for $500. And so I decided that was the way to go. And so that was my second prototype, was using the skateboard technology. And that simplified it and because the first one, I had to have counterweights. Here it's riding on the skateboard wheels on the end of it there. And so you don't have to worry about counterbalancing it. And so I can have one skateboard will drive two arms, or you can just have the other one riding, or you can drive them both. But the batteries in them will cut 2 hours, and just like somebody else with a skateboard, they can go up and down hills, and you can charge it on there or replace the battery. So that is no problem. So it's just a simple, low-cost, safe system that really works. And you can see there, forward, reverse, regenerative braking, and there we just stopped it right there.
Wow.
And so go in the other direction. But when I see something, I try to simplify it, as I have my other inventions, and that's what has made them successful. And so that's what I did here.
You got it to a point where you felt really good about it. And
Right.
then you had the doctor also involved with you,
Right.
and you were testing it. Now, the claims that you're making, those are something that have to be justified, or you already justified them based on prior research?
Well, the claims, you're talking the benefits, the claims of it, yeah, they're not FDA approved. They could be FDA registered. But Dr. Joan, with her research, she did a lot of research and did some grants and testing. Many other through the astronauts over the years, and other universities have did a lot of testing, and the benefits, they've proven that they do work, but it's not FDA registered or proven, which is very expensive.
Understood. Now, there was a point where you felt like you really trial and error, you got it to a point where you feel good about it, it's working well. So tell us now, because people wonder about the patent process. A lot of people might want to attempt to do it themselves. Maybe they use a patent attorney or a patent agent. What was that like, Vern? It sounds like it might not have been the first time that you created or you put a patent together yourself, but what does it take to do something like that?
David Pressman wrote the book Patent It Yourself, and it's probably 30 years old, and it's in about 18th edition, and it's a Bible about, and if you have the time and fortitude and patience and everything, perseverance, you can do it yourself. I did that with all my patents, and so I know how to write claims and what to put in them and keep the costs low. So you can go to a patent attorney and do it. That's another avenue. Many ways of doing it, but I was fortunate enough to be able to do it myself, which keeps the cost down. But
Understood.
if you
I have 12 patents, and I just got another notice of allowance.
Okay.
I leave it to specialists to do, because when I look at a patent, there's a lot of claims and the way that it's an art to actually write the patent. So I commend you for doing that yourself. How many patents do you have, Vern?
I have 5 patents.
5 patents. And the other products that you
Many things, Brian, I don't patent. Some things there's no need to patent. You just get out there first with the most and make your money, and don't worry, because some things are always going to have knockouts, especially small things. But if you've got something, that's really innovative, like the centrifuge, then you need to put a patent on it to protect yourself. If you want to sell it, you have to have a patent and trademark. That helps sell it too.
You're at a point now where you have this working prototype, you have a fully issued patent, you have a trademark for the name Gravity Therapy with a interesting website that shows a lot of research and data that you and Dr. Joan have put together. And now, what's the next steps, Vern? What do you plan on doing with this? Because this is almost like people don't even know that this could be a miracle for them to help them.
Right.
So what's the next steps for you, Vern?
Yeah, we want to see it go to market. That's the most important thing at our age is we're not going to take it to market because you need to spend 16 to 18 hours a day when you want to take something to market. And it's a lot involved with cost and time. So we did, as you said, brought the prototype, the patent is a trademark, and now it's ready for someone to take it over at the next step that has all the resources, know-how, manufacturing and everything to take it to the next step or the next level.
So you put together, really, if you were going to present this to a company, it's probably going to be some kind of rehabilitation equipment company, that sells to physical therapy centers, hospitals. It looks like it might need some space, right? So a place is going to need to have some space. But what do you think that this type of item or this invention would compare to if this wasn't available? And I'm not talking, I understand that the Space Center has something like this, but if I didn't have your product, what would you compare your product or your invention to?
Well, one thing is I've spinal decompression. People have bulging discs. They have nerves that hit stenosis and things like that. Many people, back problems of all type. I've had back problems over the years, and I've had spinal decompression. That machine runs $100,000, and it costs $4,000 for 20 treatments. This one will do the same thing as spinal decompression. You support them under the arms and take the footrest away, and that stretches them out just like spinal decompression. So there's other machines on the market, very expensive. This is a low-cost machine. It can be put on the market for $8,000 to $12,000. Depends on if you want one or two arms. And it's easy to put together, easy to ship, and that's the part that makes it great. Is you have to make it portable and low cost and easy to assemble and disassemble and move. It has all those ingredients, so it's ready to go for somebody to take it to that next level. And we're looking. Dr. Joan and I are looking for a partner. We're open to some type of mutual agreement, and we hope to license or sell it.
Okay. And Vern, so when you're saying multiple arms, you're talking about actually putting, like when we looked at the website, where there's 2 or 3 or 4 beds that are actually connected, so you can serve multiple patients at the same time, using the same space in a way?
Right. It still takes 12 foot. It extends 6 feet from the center, so it takes a 12-foot circumference or 12 foot diameter, right? And so whether you had 1 or 4 arms, it takes the same circumference or same space.
Okay. Very interesting, Vern. So
but I have this one set up in my home. It's in the basement. I started there in the garage for those. You can see welding equipment, lathes and milling machines. But I have it now in the basement of my home, and I run it there. And it's on carpet. I actually can run it on carpet.
Very interesting, Vern. Really there's something about this that really, like, you wouldn't think of all the benefits that this can actually do for somebody. And that's probably the hardest thing, is somebody sees a bed spinning around, to be able to prove all that you mentioned and Dr. Joan has mentioned. That's probably one of your biggest obstacles, right?
Right, it is. It's benefits. There's numerous benefits, but proving them with FDA approval. But you can get most rehab items are not FDA approved because everything you claim, one claim, if it's good for muscle, you have to do FDA approval up to 50,000 just for that one thing. So most of them do FDA registered, which is low cost, or they don't have registered or approval. They just put it out on the market and use the documentation that they have.
There's got to be a physical therapy equipment, rehabilitation equipment company that can see the value of this with a fully issued utility patent, with a fully working prototype, and all the tools and resources that you need, and documentation and research to really make this into something that can be into rehabilitation centers. It's just a matter of who it is and getting the word out and having them know that your invention exists, right?
That's right. That's what it is. Right. The proof is in the pudding.
That's great. You've been inventing for a long time, Vern. You mentioned that you're 92 years old. You're not shy about that, and you look fantastic. Really, what are some words of wisdom from your experience of being an inventor that other inventors that are listening, they could be at all stages of their idea, even if they just have one in their head or they haven't invented anything yet or they're working on one? Give us some words of wisdom before we leave to keep them moving forward.
Well, first, it takes perseverance. You have to have that if you want to invent something, because ideas, I always say ideas are like rear ends. Everybody has one. But you have to, it's taking it to market. You can have a prototype and everything, but if you can't sell it, it's like gold in the ground. You have to get it out. And so it's all about marketing. And that's where we're at now, is we want to take it to a company that has that manufacturing and marketing abilities. And hopefully, when you say other people out there, age is no barrier. I'm 92. I plan on climbing a mountain when I'm 100. And so you have to have a goal. And I have goals, and I plan on keep inventing. So stop living is to stop inventing.
That's the way, Vern. Well, congratulations on where you are with gravity therapy and all your inventions that you've worked on in the past. Many more to come, and we appreciate you being on our show. Thank you so much for sharing gravity therapy, and we can find it on, what's the website, Vern?
www.gravitytherapy.org. gravitytherapy.org.
And you'll keep that website updated for us so we can keep in touch and we can see the activity that's going on. Vern, thank you so much. Really enjoyed having you on our show, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was Vern Ader from Gravity Therapy, gravitytherapy.org. And if you'd like to be a guest on the Got Invention Show, go to gotinventionshow.com. Until then, have a great night, a great day. Make your inventions and your dreams come true. Inventively yours from Got Invention Show. Have a great night, and thank you. Brian Freed, your host. Bye-bye.